Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to another edition of Talmbout Rasslin, right here on the Black Phoenix Network. I am your host, the untouchable J. Rackins, and this is your primary destination for wrestling conversation. We are back on a Saturday. I told you it was coming back. Look, life be lifing sometimes. Right? Last few weekends have been very busy for me. Strange things happening. I can't guarantee that the next few weekends won't be either, but what I can guarantee is that you will see me every week on Talmbout Rasslin. Okay, this past episode actually aired on Monday. All right, busy weekend, right? Crazy weekend, things happen. So we aired on a Monday. That's not typical. The idea. So let's lay it out. The idea is the plan, the goal is that these will drop on Saturdays at noon. That is what I hope to do every time. But life's. Okay, sometimes I work on Fridays, and getting up on a Saturday morning to record these is a little touchy. Now, when I start going live, I know I'm going to have to be a little more stringent on that start time usually. But for the time being, sometimes I got to drop it on a Sunday. So the goal is Saturdays at noon Central Time. Sometimes it's a little late, like it will be today. And that's okay. Other times it'll be a little later. Sometimes it'll be on a Sunday at noon. That's goal number 2. That's plan B. Sundays at noon. Mondays at noon are absolutely emergency if the weekend was just insane and I could not get to record Monday at noon at the latest. Especially if I have something in particular that I want to talk about. Last week, I really wanted to talk about the WrestleMania card. And as such, I really wanted to get that episode out. So, because I didn't want to hold it out because it's going to kind of throw everything else off. So, glad I got that out. But you will be seeing this on a Saturday. Ideally at noon, maybe a little later. Worst case scenario is actually probably just not doing it at all, actually. But if I can help it, I'll get you here. So again, thank you all for being so patient. Thank you all for being so flexible, for tuning in whenever you see the notification. If you're subscribed, sidebar, if you're new here, thanks for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure that you go and subscribe. Make sure you like this post. Make sure you comment below. I want to make sure I get as much engagement as possible here for the wrestling fans, okay? I may have some people here because I've been talking about some slightly political stuff, some stuff more political than others. The state of Memphis and all the things that's going on. LeBron, who pretty much turned me into an op in one day. You know, that's probably going to be a thing. If you're here for that, those will usually be the What's Up Wednesday posts, right? And that's usually an article that you can read, but I do like doing the video thing as well. So I'm not sure how exactly I want to do that. Maybe I'll do an article with the video attached. I'm not sure. I got to work on the schedule for that too. This week I did not do it. Was a Wednesday. I actually forgot. But next week I will be back. But if you're here for like the political stuff or anything other than wrestling, probably will be covered in What's Up Wednesday. But hey, I'm here for feedback. Like, so if there's something you want me to talk about, or there's something that you want to talk about, or you want to see me cover, again, outside of the realm of wrestling, and my light just went out. It's okay. It's all right. It's all right. I knew it was going to happen. I knew that was going to happen. Bear with me. All right, we're going to change the lighting a little bit. So, if there's anything that you want me to talk about, anything that you want me to cover, anything that you want me to discuss outside of the world of wrestling, I will absolutely be happy to do that. But again, that only happens if you like, share, subscribe, comment, then I'll listen. I'm going to listen to people regardless, truthfully. But if there's something that can get you, if you're watching this, we're like less than 5 minutes in. If I got this much of your time so far, is there anything that you want to see me cover? Politics, anything going on in Memphis or around the world, anything about culture, anything. That's what Was Up Wednesdays are for. But here on Saturdays, we are talking about wrestling. That's why the name of the show is Talking About Wrestling. So, again, like, share, subscribe. Follow me on Substack, YouTube, Spotify, rating, review, do all the things. Engage. And again, I know I may have a couple of new followers here. So if you're watching this, thank you for following. Even if wrestling in your bag, hey, stick around because I got your bag coming up. The next Was Up Wednesday probably will definitely be about this. Will more than likely be about this Memphis stuff because they all got me fucked up. Moving on. Before I start, as we always do on Was Up Wednesdays, it's time for the shirt of the day. Let's go. That's right. Rocking a little throwback to Sasha Banks, aka Mercedes Moné. Let's see if we can get this light popping. All right, there we go. Don't know how long it's gonna last, and if it doesn't, we're just gonna rock it out anyway. Decided to go with a little Sasha Banks action, a little throwback. This is probably one of her last. No. I actually think she may have dropped this around Mania 37 when she went against Bianca, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but I think that's when this one came out. One of the last Sasha Banks shirts, if I'm not mistaken. I almost went with a Mercedes. And the reason I wanted to go with that, because this doesn't fit in anything that I necessarily intended to talk about, but just wanted to point out a thing. There was so much hate last year when Mercedes was on her reign and she's collecting title after title after title after title. And everybody said, she's booking herself to the win, and what are we going to do? What, she's just going to go on a losing streak and lose all of her titles? Yes, that's exactly what's going to happen. Because she's not going to be the AEW Women's Champion until she loses everything else. And it really started with Red Velvet. And then Willow won. She lost the two big ones that she had that were on TV. She lost the ROH TV championship. She lost the TBS championship to Willow. And then she disappeared. And this year she's been on a tour, going here and there, to and fro, defending these titles, except she hasn't been defending them. She's been losing. I'm going to pull up her cage match because I just want to point this out. That she has lost all of the titles. That's right. Except for the Owen Hart one. The Owen Hart, which is not even a title that she can defend. So she, once Double or Nothing comes, now she will be in the tournament, and I'm pretty sure she'll be in the tournament because that's her way to another title match. But she'll lose, and then they'll do it like that. Is my assumption. Now I could be wrong because who are me, right? Why is this not acting right for me? I don't want cagematch.com. It took me somewhere crazy last time. There we go. That's what I want. It's cagematch.net. Got it. So we're going to look for Mercedes. There we go. I want her matches. Great. It's going to start me from the front to back. So we're going to start. The last thing she had was the TBS title that she lost to Willow at the very end of 2025. She has had, let's see, 6 matches this year. She lost the CMLL women's title to Persephone. Lost the Bestia women's title to Swan. The Ricks, R-I-X-E, Ricks, in the EWA women's titles. The Mila Schmidt. Actually, no. It was apparently it was a title for title match that she lost the EWA title to Mila Schmidt. She lost the Body Slam and the DW women's title to Alexis Falcon in the UK. And she's all these are international, actually. I think that it's Mexico. I think Italy. Is that Germany? Maybe UK. She lost the PTW women's title to Diana Strong. That was in Poland, it looks like. And finally, she lost the WPW title to Jody Threat in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. That was actually last week. No, this week. It happened this week. So she's officially lost. And of course, she lost the Rare Pro. I missed that one. She lost the Rare Pro title. I knew she lost one to Alex Windsor. She lost one. So make sure I get this right. She lost the ROH women's title to Red Velvet. She lost the Rev Pro title to Alex Windsor. I was trying to remember that one because I knew Alex Windsor had beat her for a title. And she showed up with it on TV this past week. That's why I thought about that. And then she lost to Willow. So that's 1, 2, 3 titles that she lost. This year, she has lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more. And some of those titles had like multiple belts. So she is now down to 1 belt, Monet, and that belt won't even be a thing soon. Everybody wondered what was going on. What was Mercedes going to do? She's not just going to lose all her title. And she's lost them all. I didn't even want to spend that much time on that. I just wanted to check and see. But all you people who talked shit about Mercedes Monet and what she was doing in 2025 to set herself up for an amazing 2026, I want all of you to eat crow because you were wrong. Because you were wrong. And you were a hater. And you're just a hater. Point blank and period. You are just a hater. Boom. Anyway, but that wasn't even the thing that I wanted to talk about today. But I wanted to throw the shirt on just for that. Because your bitches were wrong. But moving on. Anywho, what I did want to talk about today, 2 things. Because I do have to update what I talked about on the last show. And because AEW Dynasty is right around the corner. Like I actually didn't even realize that it's right around the corner. It's literally next weekend because Dynasty is literally right around the corner. We are going to cover that as well. Lately, I haven't been doing like a bunch of Dynamite reviews because those take a long time. I kind of just want to hit like certain spots. If I go through the whole card, sometimes it's too much. And because I want to cover 2 different things here within kind of update on the WrestleMania thing, because it's WrestleMania season, of course, we got to keep, that's the thing. And with Dynasty coming up, I want to cover that as well. We're going to start, though, with WrestleMania. So last week, on the last show, I did a breakdown, basically, of the matches that had been named thus far for WrestleMania. Coming out like just a few hours later, basically, like once Raw was over, we had somehow made 4 more matches. And I had speculated on some of these and like wasn't really sure about stuff, and they just did. So a couple of things. So first of all, we got Finn Balor versus Dom. I think we pretty much knew that was going to happen. I think I actually said it on the episode that was going to be a thing. It absolutely seemed like that's where we were going to begin with. So cool. No title on the line. Of course, the AAA mega title isn't going to be on the line or whatever. Just Finn versus Dom, which is definitely going to be a win for Finn. Not his first. I want to say he beat like Bobby Lashley and Mania. He probably got a couple other ones too. He didn't have a lot of. He didn't have like a bunch of signature wins. So, but okay. The women's tag team championship kind of is going in the way that we kind of figured it would go. It was just a matter of which teams it would be. Because I thought, if to show you how far back this goes, I thought Rio was going to be going into Mania as the tag teams, and that's not what we did at all. So the women's tag team championship are going to be Nia Jax, Lash Legend. Kind of figured they would be there. Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss. Kind of figured they would be there. Bayley and Lyra didn't think they would be there, but I guess makes sense. And the Bellas. Fatal 4-way for the women's tag team championship. I figured it would be because they're kind of focusing on the women's tag division. Kind of figured that would be what they were doing. Lyra being in the tag team title match again for the second year in a row. And oddly enough, it was supposed to be Bayley last year, and that's when Becky came out in her place. So at least Bayley has a match again this year. Charlotte not being anywhere near the women's title match, the main women's title matches makes me very happy. Okay. I don't know if Julia and maybe Tiffany get a match because there's no women's U.S. title match made yet. That's the only one that didn't on the card so far because both the main women's titles are up. The Intercontinental title and now the tag title. So I don't know if we're going to get a women's U.S. title match. Nothing there is hot at all. But it does seem, at least from what I had been seeing, that we were going to do Julia and Tiffany. Still got a few weeks to do it. Nothing really happened on SmackDown that I know of. I have the results pulled up. Obviously, I didn't watch. I saw a couple of clips of what was in halfway important, and I'm going to talk about that. That's probably the only thing of note to come out of SmackDown. Let's see. Let me look. Okay, no. Something like howdy. Okay. That didn't see that. Lil Yachty. Okay. I'll watch that later, I guess. That was a WWE Tag Team Championship match. R-Truth and Damian Priest versus Mid and Kit Wilson. With some Danhausen hijinks. That was the main event. Okay. Yeah. So nothing happened in terms of the United States Women's Championship. That's interesting. But okay, whatever. That's probably not even a priority, so it probably won't even be on the show. Probably be the one women's title that won't be defended on the show, which is wild. But nonetheless, let's see what else we got. So the Intercontinental title. So I had caught wind that we were going to do something to this effect a little before Raw. And I thought it was going to go another way. And I thought I probably didn't say anything about it because I didn't know what. But they've already. So Penta on Raw made the challenge basically that they would have a 5-way ladder match, or not even 5-way, just a ladder match. He challenged, threw out an open challenge for a ladder match at Mania. I was under the impression that they were going to do qualification matches to determine who would be in this ladder match, which would have made a lot of sense because then at least you have a visual reasoning for why they're in the match. And you could have done this on the Raws leading up to Mania. Like I know it's not that many, but hell, you only have like 3 matches most of the time anyway. So just condense some of that shit down. Do like 2 or you do all 4 really in one night, or you can do 2 and 2. Either way, and that would have made sense. But instead, they just announced who's going to be in the match. So hear me out. Javon Evans, that makes sense. Penta, of course, he's the champ. Dragon Lee, who last time we saw him, if I'm not mistaken, he was getting choked out by Gunther. And now all of a sudden he's in the ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship. All right. JD McDonough, who last time we saw him, he was getting uh, stomped and beat down by Finn. And again, nowhere near any Intercontinental anything. And and Rusev. Cause why not Rusev, I guess, right? What has Rusev done since he's been back? Has he won anything that wasn't on like main event? He won some stuff like maybe earlier, like what, last year or something. I don't know. He hasn't done much. He hasn't done much. Good on him. At least, well, hey, he's on Mania. Maybe he'll come out in the tank again. I know, I talk a lot of shit about Rusev. He's one of them people. He's one of them people. He one of them people that people thought he was gonna go back to WWE and shake up the world. And you were better as the Redeemer, man. But you thought you were gonna go in AEW and do something else, I guess. Whatever. So there's that. There's your multi-man match for the Intercontinental title to get a bunch of people on the show who, I guess. I mean, I'm sure we're gonna do. Okay, whatever. And they made Seth Rollins versus Gunther official because Seth Rollins got cleared, threatened Paul Heyman. Out comes Gunther for the save, basically, and then challenged him to a match. People have been saying that one doesn't make sense. It kind of feels like it's out of nowhere. They don't think Gunther is going to necessarily be like a Paul Heyman guy or in the Vision or anything. I agree with that. I understand exactly the reasoning for why they did that. Because what I've read, and it makes sense, is basically Seth was planning to face Braun Breaker at Mania, but Braun Breaker got hurt. Well, the idea was either that Seth may have been cleared. Them kicking him out of the Vision last year was going to come back into play this year, and Braun Breaker, because again, the Masked Man thing would have led to Seth being revealed as a Masked Man, and we were going to get Seth and Braun Breaker at Mania. Would have made sense. You could have probably thrown Bronson Reed in there, but of course he's hurt too. So Seth had nobody. Seth is cleared, but there's no one naturally for him to face. We already did Logan Paul a couple years ago. Austin Theory, right? Gunther apparently was supposed to face like Rey Mysterio, but Rey Mysterio's hurt, so he didn't have anything. Which all the Dragon Lee stuff makes sense. It would have led to Rey Mysterio. Not saying that's a match I would have cared to see. Kind of a step down a little bit. Not that I don't hold Rey Mysterio in high regard, but just kind of a step down from like Goldberg, John Cena, AJ Styles, Rey Mysterio. Don't get me wrong, like he should. If anybody was going to, I would love him to have that head on his mantle as well. Of people he's retired on his way to Brock Lesnar, which is a point I'm going to make in a second. But I just wouldn't look for the Rey Mysterio match. So if we're going to do Seth versus Gunther at Mania, that's going to be a good one. That's actually a good match that I don't think we've seen. And it doesn't take much. Now, what I've seen somebody fantasy book, and I think this makes a lot of sense, is and I actually kind of basically two things happening here. Oba beating Brock, Gunther beating Seth. And Gunther basically saying to Paul Heyman, hey, remember when I saved you? You owe me. And this being the pathway to Gunther versus Brock at like SummerSlam, where Gunther retires Brock. Because that's the one and maybe the biggest head on the mantle. And I know Goldberg and I know John Cena, but the one that will really establish Gunther will be taking out Brock. Now, What will it mean if Brock in 1 year is to lose to Oba and to Gunther? I don't know. But I also don't care because he shouldn't even be there. But it's a whole other story because some nasty shit came out about him recently. Again, but whatever. Or maybe in losing to Oba, Paul Heyman sees, oh, Brock's days are numbered, and makes it. That's if you want to go with the Paul Heyman as a slimy, or the opportunist. Oh, Brock's days are numbered, and maybe he hitches his wagon to Gunther, which doesn't need to be done. You don't have to do it that way, but this I think Gunther's being close or having an involvement of sorts with something Paul Heyman related could be a blessing in disguise that gets us to Gunther versus Brock. That's how I would do it, but it's WWE and they don't do the things that narratively can make sense. They do what the fuck they want to do. So go figure. But I'm not gonna say this card is like blowing me away. There's nothing that I see that I'm like. The only thing that I'm looking the most forward to, and I have said this time and time again, Obafemi versus Brock Lesnar, because WWE, you have one job. You have one job. One damn job. Anyway, so yeah, let's do that one. So yeah, that's the only thing that I'm looking the most forward to. Punk and Roman, whatever, I could care less. Like I said, the bloodline stuff is the most interesting thing there. Raw was interesting. SmackDown was also interesting. I'll give you quick little notes on there, a couple of things that happened there. They just did another pull apart brawl and beat down. Punk got his receipt on Roman for last Raw or whatever. I'm gonna go by story because there's things happening here. Stephanie McCurry and Liv Morgan. Roxanne Perez came back to help Liv Morgan attack Stephanie McCurry. Stephanie McCurry came out looking very nice. Leave it there. Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton. So Randy Orton's been on the phone for the last few weeks as he's been hearing the voices. And when they're like, "Who's on the phone?" And there was so much speculation. Is it his dad? Is it Ric Flair? Is it Triple H? Triple H started to make a little sense when Stephanie showed up on Raw. Stephanie McMahon showed up on Raw, had a conversation with Cody because that made sense. Because where does she come from? And told him basically, in order to beat Randy, you're gonna have to think like Randy. Everybody's trying to tell him he needs to find this darker edge. He has to find whatever. And she slapped him. And then so then there's like, okay, so was she talking to? Was he talking to Stephanie? Was he talking to Vince? Who was he talking to? Big whodunit. Who's gonna be? And the thing came out that whoever he was talking to was gonna be on SmackDown. It was Pat McAfee. Yeah, Pat McAfee. That guy, Pat McAfee. It was him. It was him all along. Listen, I don't know what to do with that. And he cut a promo basically saying that, Randy Orton was like the last of like a certain era, that WWE sucks now. I mean, he basically was going in. He's like, WrestleMania tickets can't be sold. SmackDown rating was the lowest that has been in ever. And Cody was he was basically IWC. He was basically an IWC WWE Cody hater. And Randy Orton basically is going to kill everything because he's the only one that can save WWE. Interesting twist. Not sure Pat McAfee was the guy for it. Not sure that makes sense. But all right. Okay. Whatever, man. Jade and Rhea. Rhea went against Mi Chin on SmackDown. Io Sky comes out to help. Yay. Oba and Femi had another pull apart. I don't think I saw anything from AJ and Becky. Sami Zayn and Trick still on. Like I said, Lil Yachty's there. Sami Zayn beat Carmelo in the rematch. So he's completely out of that picture now. Of course, that's whatever. Sammy's been doing a little bit of some heelish stuff the last couple of weeks when it comes to Trick, where like Sammy, like Trick hit Mello, and that's what led to Sammy taking the win, and it was very almost unSammy like. And this past on SmackDown last night, Carmelo, like something that happened to Carmelo, he's in the corner and the ref's checking on him, and the second the ref clears it, Sammy goes in for the haluva, gets the win. Are we doing a double turn at Mania? Are we gonna do a double turn with Sammy as the heel and Trick coming out as the babyface? They've been trying. They said I've heard the thing that they're trying to push um Trick as the babyface or as a babyface or trying to turn him into babyface because the pops are so loud. People love chin whoop that Trick, all of that. Are we getting ready to do a double turn with Sammy and Trick? I don't know who wins, but is that what we're gonna do? No, no. Okay. And the other thing was that the main thing that I wanted to talk about. That was something. Oh, and the tag team titles. Okay. Um, Usos lose the tag team titles to the Vision, Austin Theory, and Logan Paul, thanks to interference from I Show Speed, kind of, sort of. And now the word is that maybe there's going to be a 6-man with Logan Paul, I Show Speed, and Austin Theory versus the Usos and LA Knight. And that's not a match that would have been on my bingo card before Monday. Mania is weird, man. Mania is weird. It's a weird place in a weird company. A weird place in a weird company. That's all I gotta say. So that's your WrestleMania report. Let's talk about Dynasty. So like again, I haven't been doing the like recaps on Dynamite or Collision. Not that they haven't been good, not that they've been kind of interesting here and there, but it's not going to be a day. It's gonna, they've been interesting. There've been things that happen. We got MJF and Kenny Omega heading towards their match. Pretty standard fare. There's nothing. Hadn't been anything necessarily out of the ordinary, if you could say. Excuse me. They're having a lot out of the ordinary with that. They had the contract signing that didn't lead to anything. There's no particular angle that they're going at other than with MJF being the devil and Kenny Omega being the god of pro wrestling. Speedball got involved, and the way he was involved kind of made you think like, so are they going to do like a heel turn for Speedball? But that doesn't make sense. It kind of felt that way, but they didn't do it. They were in Canada. They were in Winnipeg. Which also leads to another thing. So not saying we're just going through the paces, but we're trucking along. I almost exclusively imagine Swerve is going to cost Kenny Omega that match. Swerve is nowhere near TV anymore. Well, I guess that just happened like last week or so. Swerve is nowhere near TV, it seems. He doesn't have anything online for Dynasty just yet. I could entirely see him being the one to call Kenny Omega the match, and we finally get the pay-per-view match at like Double or Nothing between Kenny and Swerve, with maybe some kind of stipulation because they're one apiece now, so that makes a lot of sense. And Swerve wouldn't take losing his number one contendership to Kenny just like that and then just ride off to the sunset. So looking for him to probably not be on TV again until Dynasty and be the one. And then Dynasty's his event because that's another thing. He won the title the first time at the first Dynasty. He challenged Jon Moxley for the title at Dynasty last year, and he would have won if it wasn't for the Bucks. Now he's not even in the title match, and he had it but he lost it to Kenny. It makes absolute sense that he will cost Kenny that match. That's my prediction there. And there wasn't even time for a prediction. Because I know MJ, I think MJ is winning regardless. It's not like the one with Hangman where it was kind of like, I think because there was such a heavy stipulation. Kenny's probably, Kenny's going to lose. I'm not even, Kenny's going to lose. I think, though, you do Swerve being the one to cost him. So that was kind of that. We had a really good match between like MJF and Speedball. Here's the thing with Dynamite, because all the matches are like fire. So like it doesn't even make sense to keep coming on here and be like, oh, Dynamite was fire because this match was happening. Go watch this match because it was fire. Go watch this match because it was fire. They're all fire. They're all fire every time, just about. Other matches that have been made. So Darby, the interesting thing about AEW, everybody's kind of staking their claim for the title, and it's this weird thing of like there are people who were kind of staking their claim. Like nobody wanted to stake their claim for real when Mox was champion because Death Riders had such a grip on the company. Hangman broke it, but didn't nobody want to face Hangman either because they were like, oh, damn, Hangman is right. And then MJF wins it. And suddenly everybody's like, yo, I want that title. I do want that title. Because they know they know what MJF is. And so everybody is like, it's like it's like if you wanted this girl, but she was with like the biggest dope dealer in town. I'm coming with a really random one here. And you don't want to mess with her because she's with him and he'll fuck me up. But if she with an old wimpy ass little dude over here, a little snake, little snivelly, he ain't doing nothing with that. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna take you, girl. Like don't nobody respect Max as a champion. So everybody wants the belt because everybody thinks they can beat him. See what I'm saying? So now Darby threw his name into the hat. Max enlists the Don Callis family to take care of Darby. The person who's kind of on deck for that seems to be Andrade, but Andrade is like, I don't give a fuck about Darby. I'm trying to get the title too. And you working with Max is in the way of me trying to get back to the title. But you work for Don Callis. So now we have Darby Allin versus Andrade for the pay-per-view. And if Darby wins, he gets a title shot that he won't win, but he gets a title shot. So Darby probably will win against Andrade, and maybe Darby is up next for MJF at Double or Nothing. Which AEW has a really great way of not running certain things into the ground so that when you come back to it, it still feels fresh. MJF and Darby had a match. The match where he pinned him with a headlock takeover. They had that match. They had the Pillars Fatal 4-Way that they had that time. And I think those may be two of the only handful of times they may have faced each other. It's not something that they've run into the ground, say like an FTR Bucks or something like that. MJF and Kenny have had one match in AEW, if I'm not mistaken, when MJF was champion the last time. So they have a way of like having all these kind of pillars and these bigger names orbit, but not actually have matches. So like Darby and Mox. So by the time you get to a feud, then you can do it a few times and it feels fresh. Hangman Mox, we've seen a few times. Still, by the time it got to All Out last, like it was like, okay, that it was a rematch, but it still felt fresh because and what happens is also, especially with certain people, is the person that they were the first time you see the match and the person they are about the second time are almost like two different people. Max and Darby then versus Max and Darby now. And I know I'm fantasy booking because I don't even know if that's what we're doing. But that match then versus now are two different matches with two different people. Max has been through so much. Max is now a champion. He wasn't a champion the first time they had that match, if I'm not mistaken. He's now a two-time champ. Darby. Darby has been through a lot. He went through all the Sting stuff. He's gone through a lot as well. Two different people. So if that's the route we seem to be going, I can absolutely see that happening. We also have Jon Moxley versus Will Ospreay. Originally, this match was not for the Continental Championship. It was, I guess, a grudge match. And then on Dynamite, I literally heard them say that the match was for the Continental Championship, but no one else has said that. And then on Collision, Will Ospreay challenged Moxley to put the Continental Championship on the line. One of those AEW continuity things. Whatever. Um, Will Ospreay is still Will Ospreay. I don't even know what else to say. I don't even know what else to say. He's a freak of nature. He is a freak of nature. And also on the card, we have FTR versus Cope and Cage 2 for the AEW World Tag Team Championship. Let's see. I'm not even here to do predictions. But kind of, let's see. Oh boy. Because here's the thing, Dynasty, I think, is I won't say a pit stop, but it is on en route to Double or Nothing. I feel like the things in this should be setting up whatever happens at Double or Nothing. So like off of what I've said so far, I've already picked like two matches out of this. Like you're probably getting MJF and Darby, kind of in your main event. Kenny and Swerve 3. I think whatever happens with FTR and Cope and Cage will somehow lead into FTR, Cope and Cage, and the Bucks at Double or Nothing. I think that would be a good place to do um, that ladder match or whatever that I thought or at least hope that we would be getting. Um, and in that regard, I don't know if either of them matter. Though I think if you want to do that, you have to have reason for FTR to want another match. But Cope and Cage already beat them. So do we want to see Cope and Cage win the titles? I'm not sure. And it's funny because the last time they faced them was in Canada. So maybe it makes sense for FTR to win here, and then somehow we lead to a like TLC ish match. You got Cope and Cage with the chairs. The Bucks will be the ladders, aka the Hardys, and FTR in some kind of way can become like the table guy. I think that's where we're going. I could be wrong. AEW doesn't do as much like um, out of nowhere booking, but sometimes they do. So that could be the case there. So not sure how that would go. Tekla and Jamie Hayter are having a match. It feels kind of out of nowhere, but the Brawling Birds kind of had Mina's back against the Triangle of Madness here lately. Which again, all that feels kind of weird and random, but it's fine. Tekla needs some like padding wins, basically. So that's going on her. She doesn't have a really big story now that Stat's not in the picture anymore. Um, so Tekla and Jamie Hayter, she's gonna be Jamie Hayter, and she's feeding her a few people like that, some former champions to kind of give her some status, some kind of solidify her. Again, I keep saying this. Tekla has the stuff. Tekla has the stuff in ways that, like, unfortunately, Julia Hart or Sky Blue, like they have their own things, but they ain't got what Tekla got. So I'll figure with that. And that's really it. Dynamite again. Dynamite was awesome as always. We got Pac and Ospreay in a really good match. That Ospreay got the dub on. Uh, I keep forgetting about that being the thing. Really good match. We got a triple threat. We got a 6-man. Kenny Omega, Jack Perry, Brody King versus the Demand. Again, another wild match. With Omega, Kenny Omega, Jack Perry, Brother King getting the win. Again, we got Will Ospreay and Pac, which led to them jumping Will Ospreay afterwards. Again, I mentioned Mina and the Brawling Birds taking on the Triangle of Madness. We got all the stuff with Darby and JF. So all of that happened. So that was it. The thing that happened, this was a week of returns in AEW. I'm gonna say main event. say the main event return. Willow put out an open challenge. And guess who answered the open challenge? Hikaru Shida. Really good to see her back in the fold. She teased, kind of going heel on Willow, hitting her with her Singapore cane. I call it a Singapore cane, and these days we call it a kendo stick. Did not do it, but maybe we're teasing her doing something like that soon. There's room for another heel women's faction. And they've teased that with Shida, with like being kind of this Japanese mafia type Yakuza, not Japanese, the Yakuza type thing. I think that'd be a good look for her. Shida. She needs something that she's back in the fold. So I can definitely see that being a thing that we do going forward. Moxley versus Anthony. All this is on Collision. Mox versus Bowens, Divine Dominion, defend titles. Hurt Syndicate is back. Said they are ready to bring in some new talent. They are here to hurt people. And listen, man. You ain't got to say it over there. Say it over there. Say it is in TNA in the system. Kevin Knight might not be a bad pick, man. Kevin Knight would fit. And he need a little bit of that, that oomph. So I don't know. We need to. We don't need to see that. FTR had match. That was mostly it. Not to say that it wasn't a good dynamite, a good collision, but those things are mostly like there's not a whole lot of happenings on Collision per se. Not the big stuff. The big stuff happens on Dynamite. There's stuff that happens on Collision, and if you don't keep up, you will like miss some stuff. But AEW does do a good job sometimes kind of recapping. But also, man, if you want to see it, just go see it. For instance, apparently Kyle Fletcher's hurt. When I was talking about people who putting their name in the hat for Max's title, Kyle Fletcher as well, one of those people. And he was kind of bucking the Don Callis system. He's like, yo, I know Don got this deal with him, but yo, I want that title, G. It's up. So there's that. And then the main event, the return of Le Champion. That's right. Chris Jericho is back in AEW, or just Jericho, as I've seen, because very strange. His Titantron just says Jericho. His merch just says Jericho. Tony Schiavone was very specific to just call him Jericho. And is that the new thing? Is that what's going to be the new thing? That he's just Jericho? He's not Chris Jericho this to go around. He's just Jericho? I'm curious about that. And he was back and he came out to Judas. They didn't do Judas in the way that they normally do it in terms of like cutting it off and letting the fans finish with Judas and Mama. He just played it through all the way through. Then he stood there for a long time, flapping his arms, telling people to chant because the pop wasn't as big as he wanted it to be in his hometown. Go figure. No, look, you want that, you got to get that in WWE because unfortunately, you look, the AEW crowd is kind of ready to move on. Unfortunately for you, so tough titty. I personally am not a Jericho hater. I won't say that I don't care, but I kind of don't. Again, I'm not a Jericho hater. I'm not like somebody who's like, oh, Jericho's back. Does he have some problematic stuff that he's probably done? Yes. Has he done just about everything in AEW that he could? Yes. Do I have any idea where he fits into this current version of AEW? Absolutely not. But I do not hate that he's there. Just like I never hated when Jeff Jarrett would show up. I'm a Jeff Jarrett guy, first of all. Look, I don't even understand all the Jeff Jarrett hate that goes on, but whatever. Um, Nonetheless, Jericho is a legend. If he does business correctly, put some people over, not hijack the show with bland segments that he thinks are going to get over because he thinks he's this wrestling genius mind, then um, it could be something. But knowing Jericho and knowing just what he did, because he was out there for like 10 minutes. They're like 10 minutes. Of that. To just come out, grab the mic. AW, I'm home. Leaves. I was like, oh boy, we back, baby. We back, and Jericho about to do some silly shit. I don't know where he fits in this current AEW. I wouldn't hate, you know what? I'll be honest. A lot of people would. I'm gonna be honest here. Because you need people for Max to prove himself against to win to. I mentioned that whole Darby Allin thing for Double or Nothing. But if you wanted to do Double or Nothing, because you're doing it in New York at this new, it's not. I think it's like it's that Joe Lewis, if I'm not mistaken. Joe, no. Why am I guessing when I can just look it up? Why am I looking when I could just Louis Armstrong? What's that, Joe Lewis? At the Louis Armstrong Stadium in Queens, New York. So for the first time, not the first time, but it was first time leaving, first time being there. Um, First of all, nothing not to be held in the town of it. Okay, so yeah, so nothing to do with casinos. So where was it last year? No, last year it was in Arizona. Before that, it had been in Vegas. Got it. Okay, so Queens, New York, like a tennis stadium. This picture I'm looking at, like it's gonna be, it can be huge. Can be huge. It look like they had tennis matches there. Um, you need to fill that up, and I don't think it's gonna be tough, especially in New York. Here's the thing: you're gonna have to start that bad boy early. Do not be Mania 20, Mania 35, where people are getting out of this AEW pay per view past midnight. Don't do that. And AEW likes to run their pay per views long. Start this in the afternoon. May 24th. Is that a Saturday? That would be ideal. It's a Sunday. Hey, listen, people got to go to work on Monday. I'm not in New York. People got to go to work on Monday. Start this thing early. Get it over with early. Everybody go home on a Sunday. We would have been better on a Saturday. But if you're doing it on a Sunday, get these people out of here. It's my advice. That's my advice from going to All Out. No, All In. I've been to both. Going to All In last year in Texas. Started early in the afternoon. Get over about 8, 9 o'clock or so. These people out of here. That way they can still catch a ride. You do not want to be WrestleMania 35. That shit was 8 hours. And WWE likes to run their pay-per-views. I'm sorry. AEW likes to run their pay-per-views that long. Don't do it. Start it early. Nonetheless, there was a rant. You want to fill that out? You could do it with Max and Darby. It's Double or Nothing. I don't think you'll have a problem with it because it has enough name recognition at this point, name value, that you probably won't have a problem selling it out. But if you do want to really sell it out, and look, and I know Jericho ain't a name like he used to be, but he mainstream enough that you can get to Jericho versus Max at Double or Nothing. He can jump the line. Hey, look. Hey, I know people will hate. I know a lot of people will hate it. AEW is in no position to need Jericho to sell those tickets. They don't. And I'm not even saying maybe he won't. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he won't. But he does have enough name recognition, and I think again makes narrative enough sense because again, same thing like with Darby. When Max and Jericho had their feud with the Pinnacle and the Inner Circle before, those two people and the people they are now, two different things, completely different dynamics. Very similar in a way to Cody and Randy. When Cody and Randy had their stuff back in like Mania 26, it was. And in that time frame, Cody's completely different now. Randy's completely different now. That match has history, but the dynamics are very different. And I think you could do similar. AEW is good for that. And I think you can do that here. People are gonna hate it, but it's there. It's there. It's neither here nor there. That's my AEW talk for the day. Oh, this has gone a little long, longer than the last couple of episodes. So, all that being said, we're on a good path. Expect a few more matches to be made for Dynasty. And then it has to be this week because Dynasty is next Sunday. And that's a short card by AEW standards. That's a WWE type card. One match on the pre-show, 5 matches announced, 5 other matches on the main show announced. That's not AEW at all. And a lot of them, you got a women's match, you got a world match, you got a tag match, you got a continental. With all those titles, and only 4 of them on the line. So there's no TBS, no women's tag, no trios, no international, no national, no TNT. Yeah, there's a lot missing here. So expect, and again, you only got like the go home is Wednesday and Saturday for Collision, and I'm not sure if those are 2 separate shows or not. They probably will be, but so expect a lot probably to be named between now and then. Because again, that is a very light card by AEW standards. Those are like really good anchor matches. MJF Kenny is a good match to find, for a few, because the match they had before was like just kind of, hey, you're about to break my record as long as AEW champion. Let's have a match about it, and they did. FTR versus Cope and Cage, also a good anchor match. Moxley and Will Ospreay, very good anchor match. The Tekla Jamie Hayter match, I won't say it's throwaway, but and it'll be good. And actually a match that should have happened. Again, history, but not driven into the ground. Jamie Hayter has an extensive history with Tekla. Tekla debuted on Jamie Hayter. You forget that. But because again, and it hadn't even been a long time, and you kind of come so far from that. This actually makes a lot of sense. Andrade and Darby, this is going to be a very interesting match. Andrade is on a heat streak. Darby is probably marching towards MJF. So far so good. I'm not sure how they're going to pad this out because there are other feuds, but none off the top of my head that feel like we're heading towards Dynasty just yet. But we'll see. So looking forward to that. Like I said, we're on a good trajectory for Dynasty, and Mania is what, the following weekend? Is that right? So Dynasty's on the 12th. And Mania is, yeah, the following weekend, the 18th and the 19th. Crazy. So we have 2 big weekends of wrestling on the docket. Nice. This is the last week, the last weekend of wrestling normalcy for April, probably. And actually, not even that. Stand and Deliver from NXT is tonight. So you got Stand and Deliver tonight, Dynasty next weekend, Mania the weekend after that. We eating good in April, baby. We are eating good in April if you're a wrestling fan. So I guess am I gonna? I'm not gonna watch Stand and Deliver. I got something to do tonight, but I'll run the card real quick just before I get out of here because none of that means anything to me. NXT is in a very interesting place right now because they're trying to. They lost a lot of their heavy hitters. I feel like, and they're kind of in a reset period. So I don't know. On the pre-show, you got Hank and Tank, Shiloh Hill, EK Prosper, which was Eli Knight. They changed the name to EK Prosper, but of course they would because LA Knight's there. Ren Sinclair versus the Birthright, which is Lexis Kings, Channing Stax Lorenzo, Charlie Dempsey, Uriah Connors, and Ariana Grace. We have the Vanity Project, which is the tag team champions, taking on Los Americanos. P. Dunne um and the other dude whose name I can't think of right now off the top of my head. I'll just put my name. Tyler Bate. Peter Dunne, Tyler Bate. That's crazy. But whatever. NXT North American Championship, Miles Bourne taking on Johnny Gargano, taking a trip down to they say this is their Mania, by the way. I want to throw that out there. This is their WrestleMania. But also them taking it off of WrestleMania weekend is very interesting as well. Given that it's on weekend. Very interesting. Very interesting. And I think it's available on YouTube, if I'm not mistaken. Is it on Peacock this time? Yeah. Yeah. So will not be on Peacock, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, at all. Will be on YouTube only. Very interesting. Um, Women's title, JC Jane, Kendall Gray, Lola Vice. Finally get Sol Ruka versus Zarya 1-on-1. Tatum Paxley versus Blake Monroe for the Women's North American Championship. And Joe Hendry, Ricky Saint, Ethan Page, Tony D'Angelo in an NXT Championship match. Probably the biggest NXT Championship match that you could do right now because you have not built up anyone else really to be in the main picture like you had before. Go figure. It's wild that Tyler Bate, Peter Dunne, Pete Dunne, and Johnny Gargano are all down in NXT. And I know they're not necessarily permanent. They're probably to boost some ratings and yada yada, but and wild. Anywho, that's my time. Thank you all for tuning in again. We did a lot of recapping this time around. But as we always do, thank you for tuning in. Again, like, share, subscribe. Make sure you follow Black Phoenix Brand, Black Phoenix Network. Follow on Spotify, YouTube, here on Substack. Engagement is the key. And if you love wrestling like me, then this is where you want to be. That's new. Probably going to start using that. Bang, bang. Nonetheless, again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for spending your Saturday, because we're back on Saturday, here with me, here on the Black Fitness Network, talking about wrestling like we always do. Tune in. Stand and Delivers tonight. Check that out if you like NXT. If you're a sicko and you just want all the wrestling, check that out tonight. Next weekend, we have Dynasty, where I will give my official predictions predictions on Dynasty. Okay, I'll make sure to do that as well on next week. So that's next week's show. It's my Dynasty predictions, and then after that will be my Mania predictions. And I don't know if we're gonna do anything special for Mania. I actually don't even know where I'm gonna watch WrestleMania. Go figure. So that's a whole thing. But nonetheless, thank you again for tuning in. I'm your host, the Untouchable J.R. Atkins, and you have been talking about wrestling here with me on Talking About Wrestling on the Blackfin. I got to work on my sign out. I really got to work on my sign out. Nonetheless, thank you for tuning in again for the third time. And like I always say, until next time, we are out.